What's good, everybody? Huge shout out to everyone that made it to the live last night, man. We had a little bit too much fun in that thing, but hey, that's what we here for, man. A great time. And I just want to thank everybody for showing up. And you guys know what time it is. Oxygen levels.
Systems online. Oxygen levels are at 100%.
Set a course to Dark Waters 9. Alright guys, everybody's saying this snow isn't real. I haven't tried it myself, but it's definitely making you think. Everybody's saying that the snow is not real.
Collect a little bit of this snow here. What's up, baby? So, alright guys, we're getting set up to check our snow. Oh, nobody says I'm doing anything weird. We have our clean microscope slide. We have our fresh snow from
Wow, they're putting it under a microscope. This should be interesting.
Outside. And we are just gonna put a tiny bit on there. It's little rocks. All right, I need a top cover slide. Here's your relax, buddy. There ain't nothing out there.
Guys, that is a professional microscope, to say the least. This isn't your normal microscope that they're renting out at your elementary class. This is something that they're actually trying to look for something. A heavy duty boy is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Let's see. Turn you guys over here so you can hopefully see what I'm seeing. All right, let's start. Ooh, what's that? Weird. Wow. Let me show you guys this.
What is that?
Nanobots. It has to be.
I'm gonna flip this camera around. All right, guys. This is really weird.
Is that nanotech?
Because these are not ice crystals. You can clearly see that that is water on my slide. Okay. These look like effing parasites or some type of plastic, and we are seeing these strange X shapes, okay, which look
Graphene
very
oxide?
similar to me, like a chromosome marker. See how shiny blue these are? This is how heavy metals show up in the blood.
That is
Now,
what
just to be clear, everyone,
snow
this
normally
is
looks
what
like.
snow and water are supposed to look like under a microscope. Not collect a little bit of this snow.
Yikes. Maybe I'm not going hard enough. Maybe I need to get a microscope and start looking at this stuff under the microscope, because that will expose it all, won't it? It's just all about identifying what you're looking at. But we can get a book for that, can't we? Yeah, I'm not going hard enough. I need a microscope.
I want to believe that this is petrified wood. Why am I not allowed to do that? They're so adamant that this is how it is. You're living on a ball, you're flying through space, don't think and just believe what we're telling you. But when we look at the natural world, we're seeing that things don't line up, things don't correlate. And what makes more sense is the biblical story. The book of Enoch, for example, there were giants on the earth in those days, there were trees that touched the heavens, and we can see evidence of this all across the earth. So if you want to choose that as your reality, who's to say that you can't? Just because these people over here have programmed you to believe in their reality, in their belief system, in what they want you to think. So don't worry about what people think about you. We're being presented with information that makes absolutely no sense, and when we do try to figure it out for ourselves, we get called dumb. If I want to believe that this is petrified wood,
It's a lot easier talking about this stuff nowadays, because back in the day, 5-7 years ago, talking about anything like this, it was you caught an onslaught from any and everybody. It's definitely better times now, if you ask me.
You're not satisfied with shallow answers because your mind requires genuine understanding. This existential orientation creates a unique form of loneliness that Jung called psychological isolation. You can be surrounded by people and still feel like the only member of your species on the planet. It's not social loneliness. It's the loneliness of existing in a different dimension of consciousness. Jung discovered that individuals with this orientation often feel like they're living in exile from their true home, searching for meaning in experiences others take for granted, questioning assumptions that everyone else accepts without thought, feeling most understood by books, art, and music rather than people. You're not
I see Young was in them waters. 100%.
There was a teacher in the 1980s that allowed his students to cut class and pursue whatever interest they had. And his students did so well academically that he won New York City Teacher of the Year 3 times. One of his 8th grade students was even able to make over $10,000 by selling her original research on swimming pools. You could read more about it in John Taylor Gatto's book, Dumbing Us Down. But Gatto found that there was a hidden curriculum inside every school in America. And the number one lesson taught was obedience to authority. So truth comes from the teacher and the textbook. A student's self-esteem comes from how the teacher and the school grades them. And all assignments, and this is very important, come from the teacher. The students never follow their interest. They don't research pools in New York City, and they don't sell that research for $10,000. Instead, everything they learn is out of context. And because of that, students become indifferent. We always hear them say, when am I ever going to use this? They literally will crumple up their work and throw it in the garbage. So from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. for 45-minute blocks, 5 days a week for 15 consecutive years, they waste their time. And the opportunity cost of that is a childhood not spent following their interest, pursuing their creativity, and following their ambitions. And the only thing they really learn how to do is follow orders, memorize information, and repeat. And the truth is that formal schoolwork could be finished relatively quickly, leaving students with plenty of time for unschooling and following their interest, learning to cook, becoming entrepreneurs, and discovering their creative genius. And that, above all, is what I love to help.
I want to talk about this creativity, man. My elementary was kind of gangster, to say the least. And I remember this teacher, this girl was just coloring. She wasn't paying attention to what the teacher was saying. She just wanted to color. So she wasn't saying nothing out loud or nothing. She just was coloring. I don't know what the teacher's her name was Miss Hood. Believe it or not, my 3rd grade teacher, Miss Hood. I don't know where she's at, but you wrong for this. Miss Hood, she snatched her crayons, her markers. What's the little utility thing that you keep all your markers in? She slammed it. She grabbed all her markers, slammed that thing shut, and threw it in the trash. Grabbed all her coloring books and just threw it in the trash. I'm shocked. I'm still shocked as a full-grown man. Think that this just popped in my head. I haven't told anybody this story before, but Miss Hood, she grabbed all the markers, crayons, just threw them in the trash. And the girl, she's just sitting there, just shocked, and, just starts crying. And she was like, you color on a certain time, and later on, I'll let you get everything out the trash. Man, I can recall at least 15 outrageous stories that I've witnessed in my public schooling career. And, but that one was up there. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, there's got to be something else. You know what I'm saying? Because, man, this is really breaking it down, man. I'm sure you guys got crazy public education stories too. Yeah, you got beautiful moments, but a lot of crazy moments that, you know, no kid really should ever see. If you thought you weren't going to get another excellent specimen of the day today, think again. Hayusen. This is a great one. This really is. Right off the bat. Hold on, look at this little sun right here. That's crazy. You guys see that, or am I tripping? It's like a Saturn reflection. But never mind that. Look at how crazy this piece is. But that does trip me out. That is wild. What is that? That looks like Saturn's rings or something. But yeah, back to the specimen. This is a crazy specimen. Like, the rating I'm gonna give this specimen, I would give this a 9.5, just by the dark blue and the iceberg blue color. Man, this is exquisite. I would have to call this, if I had to name this specimen, I would call it the Ice Leviathan's mug. Yeah, because it's kind of giving like a coffee mug vibe. You know, Ice Leviathan. So the Ice Leviathan coffee mug is what I'm calling this specimen. And it's a 9.5. This is great. The blue on the side I really love. That's cool. This whole piece, even from the back, it looks extraordinary. 9.5. What would you guys name this? And drop a rating down below in the comments.
Another document from our United States Congress Senate that talks about modifying human behavior. And in 1972 at Vacaville Prison, not only then were they able to remotely monitor your biometrics, that means your respirations, your heart rate, your temperature, your blood pressure, but in the section it also says remotely read your thoughts. So that was in 1972. Now in 2013, there's a gentleman by the name of Dr. Ido Bachelet who gave a TED Med talk in Israel, and he's holding up a syringe. He says, I just brought this syringe from my lab, and just at the tip, not the full scale of the syringe, he says at the tip of this needle is 1,000 billion robots. Nanorobots is what he was talking about. They're 50 nanometers in size. That's 2,000 times the width of a string of another document from.
One of you guys made a crazy comparison in the comments on my last video. One of you guys said, because I mentioned that in the Matrix, what if like all the agents were using nanotechnology? And one of you guys said, when he took the red pill and the blue pill, which pill did you want to take? You remember on Matrix, take the red pill, I'll show you everything. Take the blue pill, you go home and you be lying in your bed like nothing happens. Well, the blue pill was pure nanobots. Come on, y'all, talk to me. I love that type of stuff. What a comparison. Because if you think on the second Matrix, I gotta rewatch it. Weren't they like breaking apart and moving like Transformers using like nanobot technology? What if all those Sentinels, you know, like how they're able to go through the ships? Nanobot technology, you know? And then they had to gray out the skies so they can efficiently read all the biofields, because that's how AI can see, by hacking into all the biofields. So yeah, that's crazy.
Did you know that wireless energy existed in the 1800s? It is not just a modern marvel, but rather an ancient invention. All these photos show a time when energy flowed freely, unhindered by wires or limitations, a world powered by the ether. The ether is a universal medium through which energy can travel, but here is where it gets dark. The ether was erased from reality. Not only was it erased from textbooks, but it was also replaced by theories that ensured our dependency on oil and finite resources. In the 1800s, inventors and scientists such as Nikola Tesla We're tapping into this inexhaustible energy source. Tesla demonstrated how energy could be harnessed directly from the environment, but he was abruptly shut down. He was shut down by a man named J.P. Morgan. Free energy threatened the economic stranglehold of the energy elites. But this story doesn't end there. Structures around the world, many from Tartaria, were not just places of worship, but advanced energy devices. Their spires and domes were designed to channel and distribute this energy. Do you think we will ever gain access to the ether again?
I definitely think we'll be able to harness the ether again. There's still some buildings out there that's still running etherically charged rooftops. You know, it's crazy to think about. But I do wonder about the northern lights. Like, could that possibly be pure ether and sprites as well? You know, speaking about ether, you know, a couple of things come to mind, like the northern lights and sprites. Like, could that possibly be pure ether? I'm not talking about the sprites that you get at McDonald's. I'm talking about these.
And NASA astronaut Nicole Ayers posted a spectacular image from the space station of what's known as a sprite. That's a brief blast of electricity that occurs high above thunderstorms in the upper atmosphere. Ayers explains that photos like this help scientists better understand this rare phenomenon because ground-based observers rarely catch sprites. The ISS offers an unobstructed view above the storm systems. And
how fascinating is that? It's like it's too much electricity and ions in the air, so these sprites launch above the thunderstorms to discharge all that extra electricity, is my theory. Could all this electricity be powering the firmament? Who knows? It kind of makes you think of like a giant plasma ball as well, looking at this.
This is called a plasma ball. It has a lot of electricity going from the center, coming out to the outside, and if I put my hand here, it follows my hand around and goes through me and down to the ground, and it will do that even if I don't actually touch it. It will still follow my hand around. It's still charging my hand, and we can see this. If I put a fluorescent light here, it's strong enough to make the fluorescent light light up. Even if I hold it away from the spark, it's still got enough electricity to make it light up. And we can see even if I hold my hand here, it's just lighting the bottom half of it and then going through my hand. Whereas if I move my hand all the way to the top, it goes all the way to the top of it. And you can see that even if I turn it around, it's going through the bottom half of the fluorescent light and then through me and down to the ground. So this is called a plasma.
How amazing is that? After just taking a look at one of these right here and then looking at the plasma ball, can you see the similarities? Like, it's literally wireless electricity is powering this light he has. Could this powered electronics, if we could harness this ether, is the question. Did you see that? It's almost like it's raining down from the firmament. How crazy is that? Remember, the plasma ball. I'm starting to think this might be a firmament. One more time. This is a sprite, ladies and gentlemen. An electric discharge coming from the firmament, I believe.
like to the naked eye, you would probably see them as flash, and then the camera picks up more of the colors. Nice red, orange, sometimes purple colors.
I would say come in various shapes and sizes. So we call them angel sprites, carrot sprites, column sprites. So sprites are very large scale events. Their width is usually up to 5 to 10 kilometers and their vertical extent is about 40 or 50 kilometers. Because these sprites are very large scale events, they change the atmospheric composition and we don't know the extent of this effect.
Drop your thoughts in the comments below. What is going on here? It is truly interesting, to say the least. We have more rare red sprites appearing in the night sky over France. Wow. Not over the castle. How incredible is that image? Alright guys, let's take a close look at this and see if we can dissect this. Because if we really look at it, it almost looks like roots, like tree roots going in the ground, but it's connected in the air. You know what I'm saying? Like if you just uprooted something and you just saw the roots dangling from like a carrot or something. Like these have the same characteristics. Like, oh, look at that. And it's reminding me of nature. The mysteries of this world from the Almighty Creator is just never ending. It's just magnificent if you think about how the earth was put together and how it's electrically charged with the different seasons. Man, it is some powerful stuff. And these aren't even counting the aurora lights we see, or if I'm even saying that right, the northern lights that's in Greenland or Ireland that they see a lot. The aurora borealis, I believe, is what it's called. Northern lights. Like that makes you think, like, is all this electrically charged? You know? Just imagine being in like an airship that's etherically charged. You know, you don't need fuel because you're just powered by the ether. You know, just keep going and going. You know, it makes sense you can go way past Middle Earth if you have a device that can be charged by the ether that flies. I mean, you were getting charged up in the air. You'd never have to come down. This is literally your fuel. How beautiful is that?
Is a chapter called Biological Processes of this report. And in it, it talks about using RF technology to remotely influence the human body, affecting our biochemistry, our thought processes. And in it, it says with this tech that they can erase memory sets and imprint memory sets. That means that they can take a copy of someone's memory sets that has a certain attribute that they want to institute in others, so they can imprint it in others with this tech. And they can erase memory sets. Now people say, well, that sounds very sci-fi, but it's in there. You can read it. It's in black and white. Is a chapter called Biological Processes.
So basically a Men in Black flash. Look, you need to clean up around here, you know, do your hair once in a while. Them dishes been stacking up high, you know what I'm saying? And then after that, get away. You know, how did Will Smith break it down to her? That was a classic. I might have to watch that. The first Men in Black. At the bottom of this, it says 1 Timothy 4, 1 through 1 Timothy chapter 4 verses 1 and 2. Let's see what it says, because that correlates to what's going on here. Activate submersible. Fire Marshal Bill, let me show you something. Verse 1 and 2. How about KJV? This is 1 Timothy chapter 4 verses 1 and 2. Now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in later times some shall depart from faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with the hot iron, or conscience. Conscience, forgive me, I believe that's conscience. Seared with a hot iron. Warning, your mind can't be trusted.
Well, this video should terrify you. So not too long ago, these researchers sent actors into a busy park. Then they made them do something very strange. They would walk up to complete strangers, ask them to hold their coffee, check their phone, take the coffee back, and then walk away. Those strangers had no idea that they were part of an experiment. So you see, half of them, they were handed an iced coffee. And the other half, well, they were handed a hot coffee. Now, a few minutes later, somebody walks up with a clipboard and $20 with another weird request. They asked them to read a 3-paragraph story and answer 2 questions, and the $20 was theirs. But yo, here's the part where it gets a little wild. They all read the exact same story. But when the researcher asked them to describe the main character, something insane happened. The people that held the warm coffee thought the character was warm, genuine, and caring. But the people that held the cold coffee, well, they thought the same character, was cold and uncaring. So yo, their entire perspective about the same character changed based on the temperature of the coffee that they were made to hold. And that right there is the scary part. Your moods, your decisions, and your judgments about people are all being shaped by things you might not even notice. Maybe the danger isn't that our minds can be influenced. Maybe it's the fact that we rarely notice when it does happen. Yo, this video should terrify you.
That's why I do my best to not judge a book by its cover. Everyone starts off with a clean slate with me. You know, until you do something, you know, backstab me, whatever, you know, then it's like, all right, I got to keep my eye. You know what I'm saying? I got to keep my eye on that one. But everybody starts off with a clean slate, you know. I look at everyone like they could possibly be my brother or sister. You know, it's just, even when I go out and about and I'm getting my groceries, you know, you can see some people, they're just walking. They are not deviating from their path. Their eyesight, don't look at me. I'm here to get what I need. I get it, and I can feel that energy, you know, but that is not stopping me from, you know, taking their cart back if I'm walking that way, snapping my carts together, walking my cart back, or holding the door open, or if somebody come up short in the register in front of me, man, I got you, man. Don't even, it's already paid for. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, you can't let people bring you down. You know, you cannot. Even nanobots, fight it. All it takes is just that little bit of lightness to turn someone's day around.
Okay, so we know about the Nephilim, and we know about the fallen angels. But what if we're missing a key factor that ties into the history that we learned in school as kids? Let's talk about dinosaurs. Now, I 100% believe that dinosaurs existed. There's no denying that fact. I mean, their bones are buried all over the earth. But do y'all remember when we covered that petrified giants are hidden all over in plain sight? What if both the Nephilim and the giants existed at the same time? Now, in the Book of Enoch, we learned that the fallen angels mixed DNA and created hybrid creatures while they were on Earth, right? What if some of those hybrid creatures are actually the sea monsters that we suspect exist today? The Leviathan, the Megalodon. What if all these creatures are directly linked to the tampering of God's intended DNA from the very beginning? And I'm going to ask you guys a really creepy question. What if the reason that those creatures that existed before the history that we know of can reach the bottom of the ocean and we can't is because they are demonic entities, and at the bottom of the ocean is really where hell is? I'm not gonna lie, y'all, I truly believe that the ocean is a domain full of evil spirits. And that's why so many of us have thalassophobia, or whatever you call the crippling fear of the ocean. I think that weariness was put deep within us because we aren't meant to go that far. And maybe that's the reason we're unable to discover so much of it. What if God knows that our mortal eyes couldn't handle what we'd find? While we're on that topic, let's talk about 2020, when some of the ice in Antarctica started to melt, and scientists discovered a 300-mile-long ancient river. And they literally admitted that they were terrified to see what would come out because it had been there for centuries. And also, are we going to talk about the multiple ocean fires that were completely unexplainable around the same time? Or the fact that sea life was fleeing their natural habitat in packs for an unknown reason? This is a big one. Did y'all hear about the Leviathan head that they found on Google Earth? Or the fact that it's literally moving around the globe? Or the fact that shortly after they found this, the US government started middle of the ocean but didn't tell anybody why? Kinda seems like they're practicing in case something were to emerge from the waters. Could this be the kin of the Nephilim rearing its ugly head back out of history? You guys tell me.
I know seeing Cthulhu in real life, that would be terrifying. But I personally love the ocean. That's some of the best fishing you could possibly do. Like, yeah, freshwater fishing, you know, it's a lot more calm, and, you know, it's the best. They're both a lot of fun, you know, in different ways. But the ocean, you don't know what you're going to pull up on the end of that line. That's what makes it so exciting. You just connect a smaller piece of bait, throw it in there. You reel it up, make a bigger piece of bait, and then just keep going up, you know? That's the fun. Man, it's been a while since I went fishing. I'm overdue for it.
If you'll indulge me, I'd like to read 2 pages from advice from the extraterrestrials. Yes, it's true that we have been in contact with your government and heads of power. It is also true that we have been it is also true that agreements have been made and kept secret from your people. It is also true that in the past some of your people have lost their lives or have been badly hurt to protect the secret. Our hands had no part in this. We contacted your leaders because your planet is in grave trouble. Your leaders said the vast majority of your population wasn't ready for anything like us yet. So we made time agreements with your leaders as to when your people would be made aware of our presence. Your air, your water are contaminated. Your forests, jungles, trees, and plant life are dying. There are several breaks in your food chain. You have an overwhelming amount of nuclear and biological weapons, which include nuclear and biological contamination. Your planet is overpopulated. Warning.
Okay. They definitely wrote this script. This wasn't from aliens, but I'll let them continue.
It is almost to the point of being too late, unless your people act. There are better ways of deriving energy and food needs without causing your planet any damage. Those in power are aware of this and have the capability of putting these methods into worldwide use. Those in power view it as a military and security threat. That upset me. You mean to tell me that the people in power have the ability to save and better the planet, and they aren't doing it? Amnesty. What do you mean? Complete amnesty to those in power, governments and leaders who have been suppressing the truth, that they can't be held liable for any past wrong deeds. It is the only way these leaders can come forward with the truth. It is necessary that you do this in order to work together and survive. If you'll indulge me, I'd like to read 2 pages.
I'm sitting here waiting for him to be like, and that's the idea for my new science fiction movie. You know, it's as soon as he said planet, I'm like, all right, this dude. Now they talking about overpopulation. Oh, come on. You got to be kidding me. Maybe in Middle Earth they try to make it seem like that, but not even really in Middle Earth. There's so much space out here and land for everybody. Man. Especially if you like living in the country. If you one of them city slickers, you know, like being in the city, you know, party, you know what I'm saying? Hey, it might be a little crowded over there and you might think that. But if you out in the country and all you see is cornfields and trees, you know what I'm saying? It's enough space out here for everybody. Even in Middle Earth, I would say that. It's way bigger than what they telling us. Man, that's all we got for today's video. If you made it this far, the code word for today is Miss Hood. Go ahead and drop Miss Hood in the comments below. When you do that, you made it all the way through the video and then you really rock with your boy. It's not funny, y'all. If you could only see how forceful she was grabbing that stuff. I think while she was in the process of throwing all her stuff away, she like knocked over the girl's desk. It was on some She-Hulk type. It was crazy. Miss Hood, code word. Man, and you know what makes the story even crazier? The school I went to, it had 2 3rd grade teachers. It was Miss Hood and Mr. Stanley. Mr. Stanley, I wanted to be in his class so bad because he was a scuba diver. On his first day of school, he brought his scuba tank. He showed his class the scuba tank, and he brought all these different little coral reef seashells. And I'm a kid, you know, keep in mind, I'm watching Steve Irwin, Jeff Korn Experience. You know, I want to be a marine biologist myself as a kid. So I go to school mad, like, man, how come I'm not in his class? Like, this is the perfect teacher for me, Mr. Stanley. And then I gotta go see Miss Hood slam dunking the kids' utensils in the garbage. Ah, Lord. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, you learned something, or you liked it, go ahead and share it, man. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. If you're new around here, we got the best community on YouTube. Might be a little bit biased, but hey, we got the best community on YouTube, man. All like-minded people. We all just trying to figure out this thing called life together, man. I love you guys. This was the most mysterious TikToks on the internet today. Jet Ski Chuck signing out.